How ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
It started with a smirk, a jab disguised as a joke, the kind of moment The View had mastered for decades, laughing through contempt, hiding sharp claws beneath cheerful mugs and daytime banter. But what no one in that studio knew, what no one watching live could predict, was that this moment, this episode, would become the opening shot in a legal war that would change everything. Whoopi Goldberg, queen of clapbacks, daytime television royalty, once untouchable behind the table of The View, was now hunched over a courtroom desk. Her hands, usually expressive and theatrical, were frozen, one clenched, the other twitching near her cheek. Her confidence was gone, her usual sparkle replaced with a terrified blankness. And right across the aisle sat Caroline Leavitt, calm, steady, and unflinching. The same woman they had mocked, dismissed, and sneered at. But today she wasn't the punchline, she was the prosecutor. And the courtroom wasn't just watching, it was erupting. Because in her hand, Caroline Leavitt held something far more devastating than a social media post or a fiery speech. She held receipts. Literal, time-stamped, courtroom admissible proof that what happened on The View that day wasn't just rude, it was orchestrated. Documents surfaced, internal memos, Slack logs, segment scripts marked with underlines and bold font phrases. It wasn't random, it wasn't off the cuff, it was a plan. Have Joy needle her on age? One note read, "Let Whoopi go hard, it'll trend." And it did. For a while, the clips circulated like candy to the show's core audience, those who thrived on outrage and loved to watch political outsiders squirm. Except this time, the outsider didn't squirm. Caroline Leavitt didn't throw a tantrum or storm off stage. She didn't cry on camera or beg for sympathy. She took notes, she took names. And a few days later, she filed the lawsuit, $800 million. At first, they laughed. "This is grasping," Whoopi smirked. "It won't go anywhere," Sunny Hostin chuckled. Joy Behar rolled her eyes. The panel waved it off as another Republican tantrum. They underestimated her. Big mistake. Because by the time the judge fast-tracked the case and ordered depositions, the temperature in ABC's headquarters had gone from smug to seismic. The executive Zoom call started before sunrise. Sponsors started pulling ads. Quietly, no announcements, just strategic retreat. Human resources began combing through every political segment from the last 18 months. But that was nothing compared to what unfolded inside the courtroom. The moment Caroline's legal team dropped their first piece of evidence, the courtroom collectively inhaled. A document appeared, stamped with time codes and production notes. A producer had explicitly instructed Joy and Whoopi to go after Caroline, not to interview her, to needle her, to go hard. That wasn't commentary, that was choreography. And the judge knew it. He leaned forward, removed his glasses, looked directly at ABC's attorneys. "Did your producers coach the hosts for this moment?" Silence. Not a single objection. Not a denial. Just wide-eyed legal teams flipping through binders like they were looking for an escape clause that didn't exist. In the corner, Whoopi sat still, her knuckles turning white. This wasn't just a headline anymore. It was a collapse. And then came the bombshell. Slack messages between producers. Mention Trump. See if she takes the bait. Plan B? Have Sunny lean in with race. If she freezes, we got our moment. Let Whoopi lead. She's got the credibility. The audience will eat it up. It was all there. Scripted, engineered. Another slide. Attack with intellect. Dismiss with humor. Flip the crowd. It wasn't just mean-spirited. It was targeted. Calculated, monetized outrage dressed up as daytime television. Whoopi's face had drained of all color. She whispered to her attorney, voice cracked and raw, "I didn't know they saved all of that," but they did. And as these documents piled up, so did the fallout. ABC marketing teams pulled all promotional content with Whoopi's face. Legal teams began scouring her contract for moral clauses, quietly asking the question no one wanted to say out loud. Is it time to let her go? Even reruns of that fateful episode vanished from syndication without explanation. In the courtroom, Whoopi began to unravel. The sass and sarcasm that once made her a cultural icon were gone. Her shoulders slumped, her words slurred. At one point, she tried to offer a half apology. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was upset. I just..." And then the tear, just one. It slipped down her cheek, catching the fluorescent light as it fell. Reporters froze. One typed, "Whoopi crying." Another drafted, "Breaking, Goldberg breaks in court." The judge called for a recess. Attorneys filed out. Viewers watching from hallway monitors leaned forward. But Whoopi didn't move. She sat frozen. Across the room, Caroline Leavitt remained, calm. She didn't gloat. She didn't smirk. She simply whispered to her attorney, "Let's continue." Because for Caroline, this wasn't personal. It was precedent. The question wasn't whether Whoopi was rude or aggressive. The question was whether ABC, a billion-dollar media conglomerate, had coordinated a takedown of a political guest for the sake of viral clips and clickbait drama. And the answer was rapidly becoming unavoidable. Executives at ABC were now preparing a formal exit strategy draft. It included a health-related hiatus, a soft farewell announcement, talking points for media interviews, and a transition plan for a new host. No one would admit it publicly, but privately, everyone knew. Whoopi Goldberg might be out, not next season, not next year, soon. While the courtroom was unraveling, the internet was detonating. Clips of Whoopi's breakdown began flooding TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels. Her silent stare, the tear, the whisper. I didn't know they saved all of that. Millions of views within hours. Edits stitched with courtroom drama music, slow motion replays of her trembling hands. Hashtags lit up. Media accountability. Receipts not rants, expose the view. But even more surprising than Whoopi's collapse was Caroline Leavitt's calm. She didn't need a microphone, she didn't shout, she didn't tweet a single thing. No press conference, no walk and talk, just silence and strength. In a world addicted to noise, she was a quiet storm. She walked into court in a navy blazer, binder in hand, hair pulled back, and sat through hours of brutal legal warfare with the focus and poise of someone 3 times her age. Not once did she roll her eyes. Not once did she break composure. She didn't need to perform. She had the proof. And that's what changed everything. Even pundits who despised her politics were stunned. CNN analysts, yes, CNN, called her performance strategically flawless. Fox News went further, branding her a future legal and political powerhouse. Substack columnists from the center-left admitted it. Caroline did her homework. A-list celebrities, off the record, began sending quiet support. One major actress reportedly slid into her DMs and said, "You're braver than most of Hollywood combined." Because Caroline didn't just sue, she exposed. She peeled back the curtain on the daytime media circus and revealed a production line of manipulation. One where public humiliation was plotted, outrage was monetized, and dissent was scripted. Out of the conversation, she showed that The View wasn't an open forum, it was a weapon, and suddenly everyone was paying attention. Petitions exploded online, demanding accountability. Over 2 million signatures across platforms, calling on ABC to issue a public apology, review its ethical standards, and permanently part ways with Whoopi Goldberg. This wasn't a partisan outburst. It was a cultural moment. A reckoning. Because the lawsuit didn't just challenge the show, it challenged the entire model of legacy media that's thrived on scripted outrage, performance-based bullying, and the illusion of unscripted commentary. And while ABC scrambled to extinguish the flames, Caroline was setting a new fire. Her courtroom presence had become a blueprint, a case study, a warning shot. Media schools began discussing it in lectures. Legal analysts predicted the case could set precedents for how defamation is handled when it crosses over from editorial to entertainment. Even newsrooms across the country started whispering, could this happen to us next? Meanwhile, inside ABC's corporate offices, chaos Deutsche Jar was drowning in internal reviews. Marketing had gone dark. Producers were panicking. One intern reportedly asked a supervisor if her name would appear in discovery records. Another associate producer sent out a resume to a rival network before lunch. The fear wasn't just about Caroline's case. It was about what else might be uncovered in the process. What other emails, what other episodes, what other names? Because once you open the vault, you can't control what comes out. And at the center of it all, Whoopi, the woman once heralded as the conscience of the daytime television, now sat at the eye of the storm, her iconic status crumbling, her legacy cracking. Executives combed through her contract word by word, looking for escape hatches in moral clauses, public behavior expectations, reputational protections. Translation, they weren't just thinking about how to handle the fallout, they were trying to get rid of her. Quietly, cleanly, quickly. But Whoopi wasn't just a co-host. She was a brand, a franchise pillar, a face on the coffee mugs and magazine covers. And now, a liability. And while the machine behind her trembled, Caroline Leavitt stood taller than ever. She had never screamed. She had never begged. She had simply demanded accountability, armed with facts, dates, footage, and digital trails. And it worked. This lawsuit didn't fizzle. It roared. And in doing so, it didn't just hold a network accountable, it sparked a movement. A generation raised on sound bites and spin had just witnessed something powerful. Truth. And not just any truth, the kind that survives court. The kind that doesn't need editing or angles. The kind that is time-stamped, verified, and bulletproof. So now, the cameras may be off, the lights may be dimmed, the set of The View may be eerily quiet, but the world is still watching. And we want to hear from you. Should Whoopi Goldberg be forced off the air for what she said and how it was orchestrated? Should ABC be held responsible for producing segments designed to destroy reputations for ratings? Did Caroline Leavitt go too far? Or did she finally say what millions were afraid to? Is this the end of legacy media bullying? Where manufactured? Outrage finally meets real-world consequences? Let us know in the comments. Drop your take, your outrage, your support, whatever you think, because this isn't just a video, it's a conversation. And your voice matters. Smash that like button if you believe public platforms should come with public responsibility. Subscribe for more fearless deep dives the mainstream won't touch. Share this video with someone who still thinks The View is just harmless daytime television, because now we know the truth, and Caroline Leavitt didn't just stand up for herself. She started something big. And this story, it's only just begun.